Hi. I thought I would do an interesting, interesting live about stories. So I've been doing a dream journal for about 4 months now because I've been doing a dreaming course, and you write down all your dreams and then you can do like some dream interpretation and stuff like that. But also there's when I do shamanic journeying, you always get some sort of thing back from that because you journey with an intention. And one of the ones I did in a course I did a couple of years ago, we actually journeyed with the intention of getting a story back that could be useful, and we then shared those stories. And I came across it the other day. I thought it'd be really nice to share because I think sometimes, you know, as a kid you write stories, and at school you write stories and stuff. And I think it's a bit of a shame as we get older that we sort of lose that ability to enjoy the excitement of the imagination and what stories can mean to us, and the fact that you can listen to someone read a story, or you can read like a fiction book or whatever, and your interpretation of that, or how it talks to you, or how it impacts you, or how it touches your heart or your soul or whatever, can be very different to how it can impact on someone else. So I thought I would just share the story I got when I did a shamanic journey, so that you can just see the sort of power that can come from someone's imagination, and you can, maybe it will touch you in some way or you'll like it. But also I thought I'd share first just a weird dream that I had. And again, you can see that if it were your dream, how would you interpret it? What would you think it would be saying to you? And I would suggest that if you are somebody who dreams, starting to do a dream journal is a really interesting thing to do, to write down as much as you can remember and how you feel and stuff like that. And obviously if you want to know any more about that, then get in touch with me. I can give some advice. But I just thought I'd share because this is some of the crazy things that your brain can come up with, and see what you think. Anyway, I was at a weird research facility in the middle of the ocean, and I'm not sure, but I'm supposed to be there, and I seem to be there sort of undercover. It seems to have been built in sort of these weird water channels in between. So it was some, like I said, some sort of research facility, but it's deserted. I fall into the water and it's really cold. And then I think I'm going to be attacked by a great white shark. So there's something coming towards me in the water, which is really scary. But it ends up being a beluga whale, who seems to be having a bit of trouble swimming. And this is where I like that this is what your brain does when you're asleep. So I decide to help it relearn how to swim properly, which is just bizarre. But anyway, and then I teach it how to swim, and it's happy in its little swimming thing. And I still know that I need to get out because I'm supposed to be investigating something at the facility. Something really bad has happened there. But I don't know what it is, and now I feel like I'm stuck here. I don't know how I got here, and I'm stuck in the middle of the ocean, don't really know what's happening. But now I feel that that I can escape, because I suddenly realise there's like an island in the distance, and obviously the whale will help me if I can't swim that far, because we now have a connection. So, you know, that was just one of the dreams I had, and I've done a bit of investigating around that with some other people because I'm part of like a dream group, and you can get quite interesting insights from just a small snippet of a dream like that. But I thought I'd then show you something that I wrote after I went on a shamanic journey. And if you've watched, I'll tag it in below here, but one of the lovely things, because people don't know a lot about shamanic journeys, but I did an interesting scientific thing with a friend where she put electrodes on my brain and did a brain sort of scan of alpha, beta, delta waves. And it was a 30-minute scan, but what I wanted to show was when I'm relaxed in the way she normally deals with people, it might be different to when I'm journeying. And now I think when I journey, I am definitely going somewhere and doing something different, but obviously I'm going to think that because I've trained in it and I can see the power of shamanic journeys and the shamanic healings I do with people. But it was nice because I did 15 minutes of what she would normally do when she's doing these things, and then she tapped me on the shoulder and I went off and did a shamanic journey, and she followed what happened with the brainwaves. And scientifically speaking, it did very different stuff when I was journeying. So I'll tag that below because it was quite an interesting little video I did about it. I don't truly know what the differences are, but she was quite shocked in what my brain waves did when I was journeying as opposed to what I was doing when I was relaxing. So I just thought I'd share. So this journey was an intentional journey, was please bring me a story that could be helpful when shared with other people. So I thought I would just read this. There was an orphan boy who lived in a cave on the outskirts of a hamlet. He carried water for the elders in the hamlet if they needed it, and they fed him to thank him. Although he could hunt, he really liked collecting the stories of the village, young and old, as they sat eating together. Any stories he heard, he wrote them in his leather-bound book with charcoal he collected from the villagers' fires. However many he wrote, there was always more paper, for his was a magical book. He would read a story for anyone who wanted one, and the book would magically write a tale woven from those in its pages, and it would appear in the middle of the journal, relevant to those listening if they were open to hearing. As you can imagine, the book was very worn and tatty and smudged, but he loved it, and the stories he gave to others kept his belly full and his soul happy. As time went by and the boy grew stronger, he travelled further afield to collect and share his stories, always returning to his hamlet in between. On his travels, he came across a rich city. There were grandly clothed people who enjoyed his stories and were happy to share their grand tales of merriment and mirth. His belly was full here, but his soul was not so happy, and these stories were rarely featured in the magical middle page tales. Having had his fill of riches and missing his village, the boy was preparing to leave one day when he was summoned by the king, who had heard of the wisdom the boy's book contained. The king wanted some advice, but when the boy, having heard the king's worries, opened his book and shared the story for the king didn't like what he was told, threw the book away and banished the boy. The boy travelled for days with no food other than that he foraged, but he felt his heart lifting the further from the city he moved, for there was a heaviness he had felt in that city. When he got back to the village, they had missed him, and they welcomed him with ceremony and song. He told them the stories he could remember of his time in the city and of his travels and of his lost book. He hadn't lost his joy in the telling of the stories. After a few days of being back in his cave and back to carrying water and tending the villagers gifted him a new book, and the young man spent the next few days writing all the stories he could remember, for there were many, and soon his book became a new magical book, with anyone willing to hear being gifted a story found on the magical middle page. Meanwhile, back in the city, an orphan girl, looking through the garbage for food, found a beautiful, tatty, leather-bound book full of hopes and dreams. So that just came from like a shamanic journey that I did, where I was asked for a story that had some meaning. And obviously we sat and discussed all the stories that people had done at that group, and all got little insights from them. But I would invite you to maybe listen back to that and see if there's anything that it's telling you or anything it can point towards you. And I would also suggest that if you are someone who dreams and loves that sort of stuff, then maybe putting an intention out to remember your dreams in the morning, writing them in a journal and then visiting them at later times, maybe you'll get some little magical nuggets of information that might be useful to you. So I just thought I'd share those. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to ask me anything, always just get in touch. My information is all over the place. Okay, take care. Bye.